And we are live. Sweet. All right. Hello, everybody. We're going to traditionally give this just a couple minutes to let any of the latecomers join. But just quickly on the call, again, thank you for joining. And just give us a couple moments and we will kick this off. All right. Christian, Jake, you guys good? I think we go ahead and get rolling here.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good, Justin.
All right. Good deal. And as you guys can see, again, thank you guys for joining. Keep it a little informal, conversational. If you haven't noticed, there's the chat on the side. So if you guys have questions or comments as we go, please drop those in the comment section, and we will try to address those either as we go through the presentation today or when we get done at the end, come back to those questions that you have. So to kick things off, we're going to do a brief introduction of each of the three of us. Then we'll get into a little bit about who MSPbots is and where we came from. Same will go for CrushBank, and then we'll hand it over to Jake to walk through what we've done together and why you guys are here, right? And why we wanted to have this this webinar with you guys today and this walkthrough. So starting off, my name is Justin Tuggle. I'm the head of partnerships here at MSPbots. A little bit about me: I've been in this space since 2012. In various roles from sales to vendor management and the product side, and have been with MSPbots now for about 3 months, and have been around again from some of the big players at ConnectWise, WiseSync, WisePay, and some others. Again, just in those various roles, but happy to be here and start collaborating with different companies such as CrushBank from a partnership standpoint and to bring you guys those synergies and best practices. Christian.
Good stuff. Yeah. Thanks, Justin. Good afternoon, everyone. Christian Johns. I'm the community manager with CrushBank. Been on board for the better part of 2023. Super excited, not only in what we've built out and what we'll show you here today with the MSPbots crew, but just, in general, to kind of break down the relationship we've forged out between the two organizations. Looking forward to breaking down exactly what we've put in play, which will only benefit you, the MSP. Much like Justin, they haven't been able to kick me out of the channel yet. I've been doing this just under 15 years. I like to kid around that I've probably sold you a certain portion of your stack at some point in the 14 years I've been doing this. Everything from CPQ, BCDR, analytics, privilege access management solutions, is certainly now have a great opportunity to work with CrushBank in bringing AI to MSPs. So very happy to be here today. Jake?
And I am Jake Push, head of customer success for CrushBank. I've been with CrushBank about a year. Got 25 or so years in IT. Before that, I like to joke that I was the tech who hated to classify his tickets, and then I was the engineer who hated to classify his tickets, and then I was a help desk manager, mad about the techs and engineers not classifying their tickets, up through IT director for a number of organizations and CTO for an MSP for 5 years. So I've lived a lot of those different roles and lives, and brought that over to CrushBank actually just about a year ago.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Jake. So yeah, like I had mentioned, I want to do those brief introductions, and then I'm just going to get right into it on who MSPbots is, and really kind of high level of what we're about and how it relates to, I think, what Jake will be talking about here shortly. Now, making sure. And I'm going to do a check with you, Jake, and Christian. You guys can see my slides?
Yep.
Perfect. So really, again, for those of you who don't know, or hopefully for those of you who do know, this is just a refresher. But MSPbots, we're really about data-driven processes and automation. And want to look at it not necessarily just as some of you might know us as a dashboard company. And that's not really, what all inclusive of what we are and what we're about. We're a BI company that adds automation to it, right? Not necessarily RPA from that standpoint, but really business processes, right? And looking about what we can do from the data that we're collecting and the business intelligence that you guys have within your businesses. How we got started and why, right? Our owner, CEO, Daniel, was an MSP, typical story, right? Who was an MSP, created a solution for the space that there was one of the big guys just wasn't quite filling that gap, or the way he felt necessary. So he decided to go out, create a product, and start talking to a few friends here and there. Hey, I like that. You sell it. Again, I think it's the common theme for a lot of vendors in our space. And I know CrushBank shares a little bit of that from the inception as well, right? But we're based out of Chicago, Illinois. Started development in 2019, and really launched and kicked off some of our major products between Next Ticket and Attendance Manager in 2022. And then the story continues from there. Now we're over 85 employees. We have over 800, and really at this point, actually over 1,000 since the last time this was updated. So I do need to update that. Over 1,000 MSPs worldwide using our product. So a lot of growth and a lot of adoption over really what's been a year and a half from that standpoint when you take something out of beta. Some of the questions, and my apologies for the I guess the mutedness of this didn't really come through the way I was expecting. But this will be recorded, and then if anybody has questions, sorry to interrupt there, let me know and we can send out this information as well to you guys. But some of the questions, Daniel and the rest of us would ask is, what are the problems with, related to people and process that we're seeing out there? Because there are a lot of vendors out there solving the technical stack questions, right? And even CrushBank, I think you guys are one of the first ones really to tie into the AI. I remember you when I did vendor relations at ConnectWise with Watson and everything else in the relationship with IBM. You guys were one of the first ones to really go out there and start that and really start thinking, to me, more about process, if you will, and how to, from that standpoint. But a lot of processes, usually there's no process or bad process. We see that a lot. And it makes the business side of it interesting because there are a lot of user groups. There's a lot of best practices out there. So which one do you follow? Why do you follow it? And how do you follow it are some of the things we started looking at. And then you run into all the people issues, right? The hiring, the training, the quality, capacity, and wages that you see across the board. Were just some of the things we started seeing as common variables across all companies that we spoke to. And then it came to our employees making the same mistakes over and over again. Again, you have your tech stacks and some of the stuff that can handle the technical side of it. But again, what about the people and the processes? And some of the things we know is it takes a long time to train employees around processes. It's inefficient. The management team gets super busy, doesn't know exactly where to look, what to look. You're jumping again between different tools. And every time you look at, the reports, you're seeing something different. And what do you do about that? And then how do you manage that? And one of the things we, realized, and again, and I know there's some other platforms out there that have BI, but if you don't have any type of business intelligence, which surprisingly there's a lot that don't, or would think they do, but it's really not in a consumable fashion, right? You might be using Excel sheets, Word docs, some different things like that throughout your, hopefully weekly meetings with your leadership teams and around the business. But again, you're just trying to aggregate that data from different sources. So without a proper BI system in place, you lack that visibility. And then that translates to, again, slower training times, negative feedback with your clients. And that's the kind of stuff that we wanted to try to solve from a business standpoint, not just a tech stack, if you will, more traditional approach. So for the areas that MSPbots can help with and what we do, again, as I mentioned, right, we're a BI system for MSPs that gives you visibility into your businesses. We have over 70 integrations, and we're continuing to add more and more by the week and the month sometimes, really going a lot about client and partner feedback. So again, if you're on this call and there's something that you don't see when you're looking at our website, or if you're in our product, let us know. We can talk to you guys. We definitely want to understand the business case for it, what you guys are trying to do to make sure we hit that home and not just releasing an integration for the sake of releasing an integration, right? We also have micro training bots. Again, we're not going to get into this in depth on this call. We want to keep it definitely about your efficiencies and kind of managing those techs and making sure you guys are getting everything you can out of that. But we do have micro training bots that can help, and we can start saving time and doing subtle reminders. Again, I think it's going to come up on this conversation with Jake. Are techs entering time? How does that compare to budget? And how are you efficient? So if those techs aren't entering time, typically you have a manager of some sort constantly bugging them, hey, please add time, or you're trying to come up with creative ways. Something simple, bots, annoy the heck out of them, right? Pester them into submission, if you will, if you need to. So we can help with that. We have Next Ticket Manager, which is auto dispatch, right? We will, and I'll show that briefly, some screenshots, but having consistent workflows based on different parameters in your PSA system that can stack rank your tickets, so your technicians can just focus on, the next ticket and not having to decide which ones to work or where it's at or missing SLAs. And then Attendance Manager in that, which also helps based on this conversation where Jake's going to get into, is making sure you're improving billing utilization and tracking that time and what people are doing on those tickets and making sure it gets entered back again. So you can have the comparison that I don't want to take Jake's spotlight away from there. But again, quickly here, just again, high level. And if you guys have any questions on this, you can, email us, come into the comments, and we can set up some additional calls to go in more depth. But with Next Ticket, again, just quick high level, saving a lot of your dispatcher's time. So not to eliminate a dispatcher by any means, because you still have some QA stuff ahead of time that you need to do, potentially some post QA stuff once the tickets are closed. Is it the right status? Is it in the right bill category? Things of that nature. But if we can help you better utilize that dispatcher that can get tickets out quicker or focus on other areas of the business to make you guys more efficient, that's our goal, right? For Next Ticket, couple of quick screenshots so you can see the types of stuff we can do here based on who it's assigned to, company status, watch list, even agreement status. We can add point values to that, and based on all those parameters, again, within your PSA system, whether it's Autotask, ConnectWise, or if any of you are Halo users, where we have a strong relationship with them as well, and that continues to grow. But again, based on these things, that is what will stack rank the tickets for your technicians so they know what to come into. And this would be an example of that user interface, so they know what they're working and they can dive directly into the ticket and work it like they normally would. And they can even do that through Teams. Quick, just want to show you a screenshot of this. Again, just I'm a big visual person on the Attendance Manager piece of it. But again, giving visibility to your staff and your employees and what they're doing and making sure that the tickets that are being worked are supposed to. Not an intention to micromanage, but again, just to make sure that you guys are having the efficiencies that you are. We can show you dashboards and displays such as this. So again, if you have that person that's doing QA, or you have different projects where you need to assign tickets out for whatever reason and maybe aren't using Next Ticket or don't want to, or have different parts of the business, you can utilize this to help make more informed decisions on who's doing what and how effective they are. And with that, I will pipe down and hand it over to you, Christian.
All right, fingers and toes crossed. We're good to go on the screen share. And if I could just get a quick check-in, can you see my screen?
We cannot. I think Jake or I can drive.
I think we need behind the scenes. There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
And you guys are going to pull it up. Pardon.
So I think we're sharing my screen right now. So
excellent. Good stuff.
Call for next. Call for next.
Yeah, once more, like I kicked off with, Christian Johns, I'm the community manager here with CrushBank. Much like Justin, I work within the community, certainly amongst our partner base, ecosystem, alliances. That's how this came together out of the gate, identified. And some of the things that we're doing that Jake will jump into, head first as I get through just some baseline information here on CrushBank around budgeting and how we work better together. How the information that our AI knowledge management engine, it kind of goes through ticket history, aggregates ticket budgets, drops that into the PSA, and then MSPbots is going to go ahead and pick up from the other ends and put that into their reporting and dashboard widgets. Jake, if you just go down real quick. So just, at a very high level, CrushBank was founded well over 7 years ago. I know the AI hype cycle has been through the roof over the last 12 months or so. Part of my candor, but internally, we're joking around last Friday, happy 1 year anniversary or happy 1 year birthday to AI. Certainly AI has been around for decades. But, in terms of the hype cycle, in terms of its permeation and inundation, for lack of a better term, within the MSP channel and within our world and our corner of technology, with the release of commercial AI solution that shall remain nameless, going back to last December, the last 12 months have just been, through the roof. Any MSP that I've spoken to, whether it's the first time I've met them or if I've worked with them over 15 years or so, it's come from all angles. It's just the inundation of AI, both in our personal and our professional lives, has just been through the roof. But we set sail many moons ago to meet this moment. Born out of a 30-year MSP in Long Island, New York, Chips Technology, our co-founders and our leadership in the middle of the last decade, saw where this was going, had the opportunity to pair up with IBM and their Watson platform, certainly specific to AI, and set out on developing an AI solution or artificial narrow intelligence solution to perform and deliver value to very specific MSP processes. So, just going back to my slide here, we're going to jump into more of the budgeting components that we've worked out with and the handshake that we've established with MSPbots. But, just going to quickly point out, we do summarize tickets. So as tickets hit your board, we will, go ahead and scan those tickets, with our AI knowledge management platform. We will summarize a ticket, classify a ticket to type, subtype, and item if you're on ConnectWise Manage. We additionally integrate to Autotask, ServiceNow, and I believe Halo's on our roadmap for Q1 of 2024. But we scan that ticket and then we will classify it based on your model. So each and every partner that we work with, whether you're a straight ITIL shop, maybe you leverage or took up ConnectWise on their IT services, classification model could be completely unique from the ground up, could be a mix and match, 80% ITIL, 20% subjective. Whatever that looks like, we will speak and build to that model and then classify your tickets to that model as well. So, many MSPs I work with or have worked with in the past, very candid with me. It's something that isn't done accurately, correctly, and every time because it's tedious. Many MSPs will have a certain discernible percentage on their service boards of a needs classification status or, needs to change. We completely remove that human element and that human burden. So we'll automatically classify all tickets. Go forward, we classify upon entry. You take that ticket through its life cycle. Your team or teams do what they do, provide that value, deliver the service. bring that ticket to remediation, we'll reclassify it upon ticket closure as well. We also do ticket summarization. So, most MSPs and, are almost we're approaching a significant amount of partner base know us from our AI search capabilities, and that's still very much in play. The availability to take all of your data cross-platform, ingest it into a singular data lakehouse within our system. We then take all of your data, we tag it for MSP specifics and service delivery concepts. We then plot those concepts on a knowledge graph. And the short of that is, ticket hits your board. We do that classification. Tech or engineer picks up that ticket within their PSA, within their pane of glass, within their worldview on a day-to-day basis, for lack of a better term. We will return, all the relevant and correlated ticket history, any specific configuration documents. So, in the context of reducing escalations, increasing ticket close rates, onboarding techs faster, we still are very much an AI search company. But over the last year and a half, like I started to jump into, we've gotten very specific to more of the blocking and tackling, the X's and O's that every MSP knows they should be doing. And most MSPs put forward a valued effort to do just that, classifying tickets, summarizing time entries. But it's, burdensome, for lack of a better term. So we take that off your plate. Jake is going to go to and through the budgeting capabilities and how that presents through our handshake to MSPbots. But like I said, there is some generative components of what we're doing in our AI platform, and that would be specific to, like I said, classifying tickets, summarizing tickets, upon entry, and then additionally upon resolution, and then the availability once you've done that and taken that ticket to and through remediation and completion, to leverage that IP or that data on a go forward, by way of a KB article. If you can go ahead and switch up that slide real quick, Jake. So I kind of spoke to and through, some of the things that we'll present here. I just want to give you kind of the 50,000 foot view of what we're doing once more. Don't want to sound too redundant, as I had touched upon these on the previous slide. Like I said, we set sail to meet this moment 7 years ago. Very much not a fly-by-night AI company. We've partnered up with IBM, when we set sail and pushed off from the dock to where we're at now. And we pride ourselves on delivering an AI solution to MSPs that's not only trustworthy, but has the degree of governance that you need in everything you do from a cybersecurity standpoint. Not going to go through some of the shortcomings of some of the alternative, AI platforms that are kind of finding their way into the MSP channel. But we would dare to venture, they're not commercial AI applications for managed service providers providing tech support, to the SMB, MSP, or to their end users. Lower left-hand corner on the grid, like I said, we're an AI search company, definitely, central and core to what we do, giving your techs and engineers the availability to get access to your IP and your data faster. It's estimated 50% of a tech's time on a day-to-day basis is looking for information. So we're going to condense that considerably, give that time back to each tech, or engineer, make them more efficient, get their utilization up and through the board, or through the roof, pardon me. I spoke to Smart Classifier. Like I said, why is that important? If you're kicking off automation, like with an MSPbots, you want to ensure that your tickets are properly classified, right? You can't have 80% of your tickets in a needs change status, or miscategorized. 80% of your tickets are categorized as a password reset when it's anything but. The leverage and the muscle of what we're doing completely removes that burden from a human element, from which quite a lot of good things, specifically by way of automation, can spark from. Lower right hand corner, going to jump into Auto Budgeter. Gonna kind of quickly not skip through that, but leave that for Jake when he goes to and through. Jake, if you could just move ahead and kind of go through to the next slide real quick. Just gonna hit this at a very from a highlight standpoint. Service ticket summarization, like it says, faster recognition, proper categorization, and easier triage and routing. I've seen those tickets before, 2 weeks of back and forth to and through the ticket, because it's required. That's the job at hand. Maybe internal, conversations, whatever it looked like to that path of remediation, the availability to make that lethal, for a lack of a better term, or make that usable on a go forward, by way of summarizing all the moving parts that went into that ticket closure or ticket remediation. Super useful, right? Where's a quick benefit there? You have a new tech, you're onboarding on an L1 basis. They sit in the seat, you get them dangerous, they go live, they start taking tickets. Pardon me. The last thing you want them, he or she, to do is to be, spend half their day reading through tickets. So our availability to summarize those tickets succinctly, get you straight to the synopsis, get you straight to the summarization. Quite a few takeaways there. Jake, if you would. So quick example of what that might look like. The ticket text on the left-hand column here, not too long in the tooth. Day over day what some of these tickets look like. Just from an information perspective, our availability to automatically summarize those tickets as represented in the right-hand column. I'm sure you could see why that might be useful and resourceful, and condense a whole bunch of considerations to and through your, service delivery team on a day-to-day basis. You can go through to the next slide, Jake. Time entry summarization. So I'm so old and so tenured in this space. I remember when just getting techs or engineers to enter time entries was a little bit of a hurdle. I think for the most part, anybody doing business and delivering managed services here in 2023 has buttoned that up considerably, right? It's mission critical from an agreement management standpoint, a whole host of considerations. But let's make those time entries useful. Let's get resource out of them. Let's use it on a go forward, to get new tech hires up to speed faster. Let's reduce escalations by taking those time entries and those critical milestones in the service delivery and that path to remediation. If you can go ahead to the next slide, Jake, and just squish, kind of pulverize those down into a nice quick summarization like you see here on the right-hand column. Now, good fact about what we're doing, we'll train your model on a go forward based on your time summarizations here. So not only are you getting the human element and making that information more accessible and more resourceful to the day-to-day users or techs and engineers in your organization, not only are we giving them that quick overview so they can get to where they got to go faster, and deliver and drive value to your client. We'll also use these summaries to train the model on a go forward. So, just dialing in the screws of the system itself, making it more smarter and intelligent for you on a go forward. And Jake, I think that's it. If you wanted to kind of jump up and just a quick screenshot, cjohns@crushbank.com. If you have any additional interest, set up additional calls and do a little bit deeper dive. But what Jake's going to jump into now is CrushBank's availability and how we use our AI knowledge management system to scan tickets, hunt to and through your correlated ticket history, specific to the ticket at hand, and how we go about aggregating budgets and why that's important, not only from a CrushBank perspective, but certainly where it feeds in and illustrates through MSPbots.
Thank you, CJ. So to start, primarily I'm going to be talking about ticket budgeting and how we're leveraging MSPbots with CrushBank's auto budgeting feature. So what is a budget? It is a projection of how long a particular ticket should take. Currently, most of your options for budgeting tickets are based on static data. Or static budgeting. You put it into your ticket templates in Manage, for example, or your PSA, or it is dictated out of your ticket portal, for example. But that is it's an ongoing challenge in that you may decide that a PC build should take 2 hours. That is a static number that you're putting into your portal or your ticket templates. It is not reflective of your performance, and that number might be an incorrect assessment a month out as you add staff, lose staff, whatever that is, or add or lose clients. Those expectations may change dramatically. You want to be able to look at this data so you can look over time to see how you have been performing against expectations. And you also want to look at it as a point in time to see how you're doing right now. It is a resource projection for you. And so how are you utilizing that resource? Are you up against your expected limits? Things like that. So CrushBank, with the same technology, the same AI that we use to assess a ticket, to return search results, to classify your ticket, we look at what this new ticket that comes in is talking about. And then we find similar tickets from the past, and we take that pool of that sample of tickets and build an average of how long those tickets took. And that's your average for this ticket. So we can denote that you want to look at the last 6 months, the last 12 months, the last 2 years, to build up that sample and build up the average of how long this new ticket should take. And then we write that number back into the managed instance. So great, we've given you that projection. You can see it in your help desk board and see the actual time that's been spent so far. You can see what's the budgeted time, but it's not a very actionable value from there, short of eyeballing it, maybe building some automation or some triggers. So many clients said, okay, great, CrushBank, you guys are giving us budget, but what now? What do you want us to do with that data? And in a lot of cases, they would build up that historical budget data, but couldn't take action on it, or just kind of didn't have the service delivery management time to really deal with it. So we have worked with MSPbots in this instance to demonstrate what you can do with that budgeting data. So I'll actually start with I'll start with the account manager. So for your account managers doing their QBRs, this is just a sample dashboard that we have. It's available to clients. And so with this, you can see the actual hours versus budget hours by TSI, by type, subtype, and item, by your classification. You can see actual versus budget by technician. You can see how your people are performing against expectations. Your best performers are going to have low percentages here. They're likely doing very well against the projections, but it may help you identify some techs that are struggling with their work, with their workload, with their tickets. You can look at actual versus budget by client. Perhaps you're performing better with a particular client. First of all, good numbers to present to those clients, but it can also help you identify, internally your performance. And then actual versus budget by service board. Maybe certain boards are doing better. Maybe your tier 1 is struggling, but tier 2 is doing well. It can give you you can use that budgeting data to tell a lot about the health of your business, the health of your service delivery, how your technicians are doing. If you're struggling in a particular classification, for example, maybe your PC builds are taking more time than they should. This is going to help you identify some of those problems within your business. That's where the service delivery manager dashboard comes into play. On the account manager dashboard, we have what are called date slicers. So you can put in a period of time for your QBRs. You can select specific clients. On the service delivery manager dashboard, this is more intended as a point in time. So your service delivery managers, your help desk managers can look at a snapshot of how you're doing by client. Again, maybe call out problems that you're having. Same thing by service board or by technician. Again, point in time, maybe a particular tech is struggling right now against projections. This is going to call that out. We've built in some color coding so things will jump out. This is all extremely, extremely customizable within MSPbots. I built these dashboards within the span of a couple hours, and I'm not an expert in building dashboards in MSPbots. And also MSPbots was fantastic in helping us and guiding us in building these. Another option for the dashboards, especially around service delivery, just different widgets, different ways of displaying the data. In here, you've got very large tiles. Again, you can color code these based on performance. So with this large sample of data, because we're, again, using sample data, demo data in the background, the time budgeted per ticket on average was an hour, and the time spent per ticket in that time period was 0.55 hours. So easy math, but 55% utilization. So of the projected time, you were doing very, very well, actually, in that period of time. It was only taking you 55% of projection to accomplish those tickets. Moving past just the dashboards and the widgets, there are the bots. There is the reporting. We haven't gotten into those yet. But Justin was talking about the bots earlier. You can create triggers based on performance. So if a ticket is over, let's say, 80% utilization, do you want to escalate that? Do you want to notify service delivery management that this particular ticket needs some attention? You can also trigger based on variance from expectations. Maybe the performance is too low. If it is too low, maybe the tech didn't actually resolve the problem. Our budgeting actually helped one of our clients discover that a ticket that was budgeted for, I believe it was 8 hours, only took about a half hour. And the client was able to look into that and realize that the engineers had simply rebooted the server, but they hadn't gotten to root cause. Looked great on the performance against budget, but it didn't ultimately resolve the issue. They went back to it, had the engineers dig into it, did find the problem, and were able to resolve it. But the budget and the variance from budget is what led them to finding that. Or maybe your techs aren't entering time appropriately. Again, I admitted right up front, I was the tech that did not enter my time. So maybe this helps you identify where you have gaps in your procedures, where techs or engineers do need to be putting in their time more effectively. Or maybe it's telling you that it's too high. They're spending too much time over projection, over budgeted time. If that's the case, maybe they should have used a knowledge management piece of software like CrushBank, for example, where they could have more quickly found the answers to their problems. Maybe they should have escalated the ticket more quickly to a senior resource. Or again, maybe you've got bad past data around projections. And then past those automations, past the bots, there's lots of power in reporting. So you can do regular reporting on those trends. Sorry, I just saw a question in the comments, which threw me off. I'll get to it in just a second. So with the reporting, you can schedule regular reports on your trending data. Budget is a great way to build expectations. It's a great way to build KPIs, and you can use MSPbots both to dashboard it and to report on those KPIs. The question in the chat is, can you compare one client against another in terms of time spent for similar work? So that is where the slicers would come into play. You can put slicers in for anything. In here, I just have them for date range and for client, but you could put slicers in for type, subtype, and item for classification. And so using those slicers, you could choose specific clients to display and specific classifications to display. So you could see right there how those clients were doing budget versus actual for both the TSI and again, for those specific clients. So that's what I have for you. We can take my screen share off, if you would. And Justin, I will hand it back over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks. I appreciate that. And I think just to reiterate what you were saying, and then obviously if anybody else has any questions, again, please drop them in the chat, is it really comes down to, being able to have this data on budgeted versus actual, and again, whether your techs or your team are manually entering it, whether you're using a system, and bugging them with, call it our bots, or using Next Ticket or Attendance Manager or something to auto put that time in. And it's very important to have that comparative analysis and use something like a CrushBank to budget your time appropriately. To me, being in product in the past, it's very much like story pointing. If you're guesstimating, it's very easy to kind of manipulate the statistics in a way that you want. But when you have something, again, like a CrushBank and the AI back there doing it on a number of tickets, it decreases the likelihood of that happening by taking those averages and giving you a proper budget hours. And then based on what comes in, like Jake was saying, you can ask, yes, it looks good because it's 50% under budgeted, but that should kick off some red flags and say, why is it that far under budget, right? We have systems in place in the background and using comparative analysis to come up to that number. That 1 hour wasn't, just out of thin air because the technician wanted to give himself more time to go do something else or run an errand, in that time frame. So it allows you, again, to compare and say, why is this happening? And then you can go back and ask questions. Are we, tagging these tickets the right way? Are we adding the summaries the right way? Is the system picking up the information the right way and adding the right number of hours? Or is there a keyword or a status we're using that's throwing this off? Again, because you want to start to maximize your efficiencies and your technician to provide better client expectations. Because at this day and age, right, a lot of MSPs, you hear it, how do you differentiate? And a lot of that comes down to, client success and interaction with them and the value you're bringing. So being able to make sure you're able to get to those root causes and maximize your efficiency is one way to stand out from the rest. So I love what you guys are doing there. And then at the end, if it's over, it's not always, is there a gap in the process? Is somebody not trained up right? And you can start diving in and helping manage your people instead of the business and make sure that the people are doing what they need and the processes are correct, which ultimately leads to greater success for you guys as well. But I love that and wanted to summarize that. But Christian, any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, we not to be too surly, we know we're onto something here, right? Budgeting tickets does happen within MSPs. Typically, it's through one of the PSA system templates, right? So you have templates that you build out, kind of guided to the task at hand. Could be new user setup, could be employee offboarding, or a whole host of considerations. More often than not, where we do see budgeting in place, it is through one of those boilerplate templates. But the vast majority, it's specific to what we attacked here and what we detailed and broke down. Nobody has the time, right? So problem XYZ hits the board, there's no dedicated resource on staff to go down the rabbit hole and to aggregate what that looks like historically, from a time and budgeting perspective. I'm not going to call out any names, but I know that the ticket budgeting features in the industry leading, PSAs that have certainly some starts in the market currently. But it's one of the most, my subjective opinion, one of the most underutilized pieces of the ticket functionality in at least, let's say, the two biggest PSA players. Not because it doesn't work, not because it isn't intuitive, but it requires you to go through your ticket history. And, let's just face it, given the nature of what we all do and what MSPs collectively do, nobody has time for that. So, the availability to bring this into CrushBank, to extend it to our partners, to extend it to our mutual MSPbot partners, completely remove that human burden to say, hey, you wouldn't dare, roll out a project or sell a project into your client without a statement of work and a bill of materials and a very fine timelines, budget to that project outside of the, core scope of what an MSP does from a maintenance and management perspective. We're taking, that project mentality from a budgeting perspective on each and every ticket that hits your board. We're able to do that by, removing that human element or that burden of going through that ticket history automatically, much like Jake touched to when he broke down the budgeter, much like we're returning search results of all your IP and all of your data through CrushBank, through your single pane of glass. We're out and about going through your correlated ticket history to append that budget. We know it's a game changer, much like Jake broke down and what you've broken down, Justin. For a whole host of considerations from management, metrics, KPIs, CSAT, the whole 9 yards. We're very welcomed in bringing that functionality and finally populating out the budget fields in the PSA ticketing. So That's what I got. Jake, any additional insights before we get going? Are you gonna put a time entry in for this webinar, or are you gonna skip right over it? I kid. Good stuff.
Sorry, nothing to add here, really.
Yeah, and Eric, I think Eric, you're out there. I just want to make sure I'm not ignoring your comment. I didn't know if there was a question in this, or you're just letting us know from your guys' perspective. And again, happy for one or both of us to hop on a call to dive into this, comment or question more. But again, just want to make sure we're addressing it. You stated we budget more on project templates and move, add, change ticket templates. Hard to understand budgets in reactive tickets. So I want to make sure if there's a question there, we're able to answer it, or if you're just kind of commenting. So I guess if you can hear me and I'm talking to you. Or Jake.
I think I can speak to that. I know that there are some MSPs that just sort of take tickets as they come in, and they distribute them to their techs or to their tier 1 techs if they have a tiered model, and go from there. And so if you're just kind of spreading the tickets around, then budgeting the tickets may not help. Other MSPs, larger MSPs perhaps, may be assigning tickets or escalating tickets. If you get a ticket that comes in with an 8-hour budget, you probably know that it's likely an engineering level, or it's more involved. Value and budget and reactive tickets. So if you know that it's a high resource ticket, it's going to take 6 or 8 hours or something like that, then you may want one of your senior techs to work on that. If for MSPs that are doing resource planning, that are assigning tickets, that are assigning that time and putting it on the tech's calendar, for example, that can be very effective, because you know how long that ticket should take, how long you need to block off for them. So part of that depends on your service delivery management and how you're managing your people and your tickets. But that's where the budgets on reactive tickets can be effective. Yeah, for some, for some it's a project. For some it's all right. Well, we need to add hard drive space to the SAN because that hypervisor is running out of space, and we need to add stuff. And for some MSPs, that is a project, and for some, that's just an engineer ticket. So.
I hope that helped, Eric. Get you to where you were thinking, or help shine some light on that. But if there's no other questions, again, we appreciate everybody joining us today. Give you a few minutes back to hopefully prep for your next meeting, because I'm sure most of you are, back to back like we all are. So appreciate your time today, guys. And Joey, if you want to throw that up too. If you have any questions for us, I know Christian, and I think it just hit it the way we were I'll put up on the screen, but support at MSPbots.ai if you have any questions. There you go. Or if you want to book a demo or need any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And I know, Christian, you had yours up there a little bit ago. But again, thank you all for joining, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks everyone. You have a great day.